Welcome everybody to the Celtics Double Take Podcast. Dylan McCaffrey and James Kwan here again today. The Boston Celtics are back to 500, 17-17, sitting at the 6th seed, half a game back of the New York Knicks. This week we took losses to the Mavs and Hawks. We managed to beat the Pacers and Wizards. First things first, though, as always, we got to break down just our best and worst takeaways from the last week. And James, you can go first.
I mean, not a lot of great takeaways when you're just sitting at 500. Not really satisfied with that, but hey, Kemba, that's gonna be my takeaway. He looks a little better. I feel like he's getting into some kind of rhythm. You know, it's not like he's stringing together like these 30-point games, but he sprinkles in great games and has like serviceable, still shooting below 500, but still being a playmaker in some kind of way or like making an impact on the court. That's a huge step up from what he was before. So that's gonna be my best takeaway this week. Now, we lost to the Hawks again, and I don't care like until we beat them again. And even at that point, it's just like, it still hurts. I don't know. This one was just kind of like a statement loss. I feel like it took like those wins against the Pacers and the Wizards to kind of get that taste on my mouth. But like, I can't believe it. And we lost in the craziest way. But yeah, you get into your best and worst.
The Hawks game was a nightmare. That was like, I felt sick watching that game, and we'll get there when we get there. My best is also Kemba, because Kemba, he looks serviceable. He won us a game this week, which is the first time I think that's happened, we can say, this year. Mm-hmm. And you're right. He's not putting it together a 30-point streak, or he's not shooting above 50%, but instead of, he's not going 1 of 12 from 3. He's not shooting us out of the game. He impacted winning this week, and that is a huge improvement from so far this season. So props to Kemba. Hate on him a lot. So I wanted to definitely, both of us, props to Kemba. Thank you, Kemba. The worst for me this week was, there was a lot to pick from, but I chose Aaron Naismith because we watched him play 22 minutes and take 0 shots. And that was actually the last game that he was given like regular minutes. Like for a 2-week period, we gave him like 25 minutes a game. And finally, in a loss by 3 points, he played 22 minutes, didn't take a shot. That was the sign that, okay, he's not ready. And so my worst is him, and props to Brad for finally giving him.
I guess. I mean, we'll talk about like his performances more when we talk about the games, but yeah, I mean, he's clearly not ready. I don't know what, like, I guess Brad just really wanted to reward his work ethic, but I mean, this isn't high school ball. So
if you're looking at Pritchard and Naismith to like be a solution for off the bench scoring, Naismith has just proven that he's not capable of it yet. And Pritchard, like, as much as I love Pritchard, he's not like being the guy we can rely on for our 6th man, for our 4th scorer.
Yeah, I think that was more than we thought. That was not the expectation. I think we got to remember that.
No, but like when we were getting excited about like, let's start sitting Kemba and let Pritchard take over. And I think that Pritchard, when he gives us a good game, it's noticeable. And when he doesn't, it blends in a little more. But I think that I just wanted to acknowledge that Pritchard he's not the immediate solution to any
it hasn't been the
problems.
same after the injury, but that looks scary. That looks scary. So who knows where he's at?
Let's jump right into the Mavs game. That one hurt. That one hurt because it went the way that it always goes, where we're losing this lead and we're losing this game that it was so winnable. And then we were down 11 points with 3 minutes left, and we come back and tie it, and we take a lead at the end of the game. Like it was a game that we've seen so many times this season just go so poorly and we lose. And in that game, we fought all the way back and took the lead, and Luka just put a knife in our hearts.
Yeah, dude, we just got Doncic'd. Like, that's all that happens. And, it looks awesome when it's happening to someone else, but when it's your team, you feel like there's really nothing you can do. When he starts taking over late in the game, I mean, that's why I don't mark this as a terrible loss. It was definitely a winnable game, but what are you going to do? I mean, this is a generational type guy that just kind of, when he flips the switch, it's not like we're different from any other team. We can't really do anything to stop that. And on top of that, that's why I feel like we didn't really choke the game away. I think we played a solid game. Now, this is just another example of how like opponents' point guards kind of burn us. Like Jalen Brunson, like 22 points off the bench, backup point guard. And it's purely just because Kemba, and like, as much as he's kind of picked up in the offensive end, he's still just this guy who like people like Jalen Brunson or Sadiq Bey are going to have field days against. And we're going to have to take that, to the chin when we face teams like the Mavs.
Someone this week told me that they would rather have Luka than Brown and Tatum. And that was a really tough thing to hear and swallow because right now they might be right. If you surround Brown and Tatum with the proper talent, then they're definitely the duo you want to take. But if you just have to like build your team around them, Luka is proving that like he can put up 40 and also just make his whole team way better. Whereas Tatum and Brown, I don't think that they made their teammates much better this game. I want to pull out a bunch of numbers here, so bear with me. Tatum, Brown, and Kemba were 30 of 62 combined. So they shot almost 50% together. They scored a ton of points together. And, they're taking all the shots, which is what you want from your best three players. The rest of our team was 13 for 24. 7 players combined were 13 to 24, including Naismith, 22 minutes, 0 shots taken. But just the idea that 3 players are averaging 20 shots this game, and our other 7 players averaged 3 shots apiece this game. If this is the plan, which it is, our best 3 players, Kemba, Brown, Tatum, have to be like better than the other team every night because none of the rest of our team is putting it on themselves to create shots or taking it on themselves. When Javonte Green goes out there and scores, it's because he's on a fast break. He's catching a dunk. When it's semi, he's catching and shooting. And it's just very highlighted. Like we don't have anyone other than these 3 guys that gets to touch the ball and that's how we take a loss.
Well, here's 2 things. Like, for one, this is not going to be the case for the entire year. Like having Marcus Smart back is just, it's like kind of like in baseball where you get like one of these starting pitchers back and you're just like, the absence of him means so much more than the presence of him, even because if he's not that like transcendent guy, it's still like another guy in the rotation. It helps this that much. And that's what Marcus Smart is. I mean, at the end of the day, when he comes back, we're just like a different team. We're not like a majorly different team, but we're definitely a different team. So this isn't going to be the case forever. There's going to be a guy in the second unit that's going to be able to make plays, get guys like Semi open, get guys like Javonte Green involved in the transition. So it's not like this is forever. But yeah, I mean, I got to say, like, not having the firepower is like a discussion that's pretty old. And it's not a discussion we've had to have in a very long time. And it's kind of a crazy problem to have. That's why it's scary that you look at Jaylen, Brown, Tatum as team guys, and like eventually, like if we're getting sick of talking about it, they're getting sick of thinking about it and dealing with it. So it's just something to keep in mind.
I think something to think about just because in terms of like we obviously know Tatum, Brown, and Kemba are our best 3 players. They're taking all the shots, but that's our game plan. Like our game plan is that 3 of our players take more than 2/3 of our shots. And when we play teams like the Mavs or the Hawks and they have 7 guys deep, they're getting 10 points apiece. Like, just like I think it's flawed the way we come into these games and we play ISO ball. Like it's literally ISO ball with 3 people, whoever gets to have the turn. And
well, I mean, yeah, it's also a minutes thing, right? Like it's also like minutes distribution. Like we're gonna go into it, but like there's no consistency here. It's not like I think if we try to develop like 3 of these bench guys, just given the opportunities need like Robert Williams, Pritchard, and take your pick of Semi Ojeleye or Grant Williams or whatever. If you worked on them and actually gave them prominent minutes over the rest, maybe they would have found a little bit more of an identity. But I mean, that's the other thing. It's like in my opinion, this is a totally fixable team. I think a lot of teams would trade spots with us if they could.
I agree, and you're right. If we have like a regular season, we can keep Naismith and certain guys in the G League to develop more, then that'd be the better place for them because it does hurt you when you're Grant Williams or you're Carson Edwards or you're Aaron Naismith, and for a week you get 20 minutes plus, and then the next week you get nothing, and you get subbed into a game to try and prove something again. They've really had to deal with a lot, and blame it on us. Like people in the media just like calling for Brad Stevens to come up with a new idea every single game, but also keep everything the same. It's been juggling a lot on this team. Are you ready to get into the Hawks game?
I guess. I think it's the one that needs the most attention.
This is one of our worst games. Like I needed so badly to have a redemption game against the Hawks, and it was so terribly bad. Tatum and Brown score 30 points combined, 10 to 36 shooting. Carson, Tremont, and Naismith like all got points, but they were all garbage time points. This is like a perfect example of like if our system falls apart, there's no second option. If Brown's not scoring and Tatum's not scoring, we just lost the game in the first quarter.
I mean, yeah, and I think it goes back to the point. I think that minutes distribution, like here, listen, when Tatum's, he shoots 4 for 20, it's not it's not like it's gonna be very hard to win that game. Like he's supposed to be your best player, but putting that combined with playing Jeff Teague 30 minutes and starting him, it's like for what? Are you trying to like get the Jeff Teague redemption game? Like Jeff Teague some bad blood with the Hawks, and he's gonna come back with some like a vengeance. Like I don't see like any justifiable reason why he plays this game the way he does, and it also I don't know. It highlights like the again once like Brad Stevens is kind of just like where's the consistency? I just want to know like what his strategy is. I'm also not going to pass the buck. Tatum and Brown, I've noticed recently, I don't think they're giving enough on the defensive ends. I've noticed some blow-bys. Danilo Gallinari, 38 points in this game.
Yep.
I mean, that has to be the best you've seen Gallinari in your life, right?
I mean, we played against him last week, and he lit us up twice last week. Like he keeps doing it to us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like who's defending this guy on the wing? Who's going to be that like big forward type, guy who's probably playing the forward? Like it's Tatum and Brown, and in most of our lineups. So this is the kind of guy, like these wing guys that are going to give us like a threat on any given night. Like if these guys don't step up in the defensive end, of course you're going to get torched.
Absolutely. And I think that, the blame in this game is on Tatum and Brown because they're our best players and they played badly. And, you take it as a lesson that the rest of our team is weak, but we've been learning that all season. Tatum and Brown, after the Mavs game, like I think you have to take a lesson from looking at a guy like Luka and the way that he gets his teammates open shots and gets them to lift each other up. And if Brown and Tatum are having a bad game and that's just a loss every time, like we really need them to be extremely good to ever win anything and go anywhere. If they can find a way to have a bad shooting night but still make players better, like how Jimmy Butler does, like then they're gonna take it to the next level. I think that maybe that's where the next level is for them, because you say like who's a better just like pure scorer, Tatum or Luka? It's a close argument, but who's making their teammates better and playing harder? I think everyone's taking Luka. So we keep looking to Brown and Tatum to like ascend because they kept like ascending and ascending like in their skill level. And I think the next barrier isn't just like getting better at their handles and driving by people. I think that the next level of ascension is like elite defense and elite playmaking ability and getting guys open. I guess that's the next step for them.
Yeah, I mean, like literally just as presidents, like 2000, late 2000s basketball, early 2010s, it was about scores. Like it was like it was Kobe Bryant. It was guys who could just get you the bucket, like Tim Duncan. Nowadays, it's all about the playmaker. That's why people like LeBron and Luka are just going to reign supreme in this league as like, quote unquote, the best players. And guys like Dame as well. Like, if you're just a great scorer, like you can only go so far. That's why the argument of like Tatum and Brown, like how are they not better? It's like, well, like you said, in the offensive way, like they haven't developed into the players that they can be. And if both those guys can learn to pass the ball in the way that even like Julius Randle, the step he took this year in like learning how to pass, learning how to be involved in other ways, it's a whole different team. This team is completely different. And it doesn't matter who we build around because can you hit open threes and are you a rim runner? Can you dunk an alley-oop? That's what it's going to be. Now, I think this goes into this little segment. I kind of want to shake things up, catch you with something by surprise. It's a little game, but it's simple. Are these players better than Tatum? That's the game. And I think we need because this season I think has highlighted the last missing piece of Tatum's offensive game, which is playmaking, which is a huge piece to put in. I think it's worth mentioning some players who I feel like have stepped up this season. I'm talking about who is better than Tatum this season. And we're going to start with Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal this season, they have a worse record than us. But I got to say that Bradley Beal is having a better season than Tatum for sure. Like he's an all-star starter, like outright. Like he's probably a top 2 scorer. He's a top 2 scorer in the NBA.
Like right now, not potential. Like who's the better player right now? Is it Bradley Beal or is it Jayson Tatum?
It's a hard question to answer. And better player right now, like this week, Bradley Beal.
Yeah. No. I think it's respectable. You're just going to get a lot of crap about it.
if you're going to ask me who I want for a career or who I think is like
Yeah. Whole different
genuinely better,
question.
it's a different question. But like
Who's better right now?
who's better
Yeah.
today? It's Brad Beal.
All right. Donovan
Like
Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell right now is better than Tatum.
Over 2. Zion Williamson. I
I
don't know if you watched the Pelicans lately, but this guy's unbelievable.
The thing is, I think that if anyone is like worse at playmaking than Tatum, it's Zion. Like if we're talking about like who's making their teammates better, I think that it's at least neck and neck if Tatum's not better.
Right.
So I'll go Tatum on this one. I know that Zion's shooting ridiculous numbers and he's having a good year, but yeah, I'll take Tatum at this moment.
It's a health thing too.
Yeah.
This one I know you're gonna feel poorly about, but Zach LaVine.
Honestly, no. Give me still Tatum over Zach. Zach
No,
LaVine's his shot is so pretty. His game is so pretty, but I'm still taking Tatum.
Yeah, I think Tatum's like take care of the ball a little bit more too. And this is the last one. This is just a heartbreaker. But I think we need to ask a question. Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving is doing better right now than Jayson Tatum.
It kind of hurts, and I don't want to digress too much, but it kind of hurts thinking about what this team might have been if he stayed.
Kyrie mouthed off this week about like he might be right, making a good point, but I just saw that he was like tweeting about like racism in Europe and America, and I just whether he's right or wrong, the headache of him and his mood swings being off my team, it's too high of a price to take him back. So I don't wonder what it's like what it would be like if we had Kyrie. I wonder what it would be like if we had IT, but everyone knew that already.
That's fair. I mean, it's a good question to ask because I think Tatum in our eyes is like it's hard to imagine a list of players we would want more than him on our team. Like it's really important for us to keep him in the future. Like we don't want to give him up, but like we also have to keep ourselves honest. And because that's the thing, the expectation might be a little too high. Like we look at these games and, maybe we're expecting a little too much too soon.
Well, I think that, we have a bad record. So it's hard to say that Tatum's better than these guys, but you have to just like also consider that we are a pretty bad team and he's making a bad team 500. And I don't know if you can say like, oh, like he's not having a good enough season, we should be better. Or if you're saying like this team is really terrible, it's like miraculous that we're where we at. It's hard to get a gauge on that because we've had so much inconsistency with our lineups and everything.
Yeah.
Tatum has like against the Wizards, like he's getting us the buckets at the end of games to win games, and like he had that game winner against the Bucks early in the year. So he's had some like late game heroics that I also think elevate him above a guy like LaVine or Williamson. But most of the games when we're going down the final stretch and they're playing ISO, it doesn't go our way necessarily. Against the Pacers, it did. And if you're ready to move into that, we can. I got to shout out my boy Daniel Tice, comes back from injury, 17 points. I appreciate that from him.
Are we just gonna ignore that Kemba Walker out rebounded Tice in the Mavs game?
I was gonna ignore it, but there it is. Tice was able to put up numbers for us. He hit the dagger at the end of the game. That was something. Kemba has a great game that night. 32 from Kemba, 10 of 19. Kemba's best game of the year for sure, especially with Tatum puts up 9 points that night. Tatum and Brown combined for 24, and Kemba carries us. Robert Williams, 14 and 11. Great game from him. That's all we need. If the three starters can put up, 60 points and then just at least two bench guys also play like they're NBA players, we find a way to win games.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's been happening for us in the past like few years. But this is another. We're not trying to harp on Tatum. This is not the anti-Tatum podcast. We love Tatum, but this was another bad Tatum game, and it was a wacky game. This is the Kemba's redemption. This was like Kemba, like when all else fails, when there seems to be no hope, like this forgotten hero. Like it. And the thing is that like it wasn't just like, oh, Kemba had a great game. It was like there were multiple moments within the game that if Kemba doesn't step up the way he does, we don't even have a shot. There was some like multiple gut, like Pacers have our heart in their palms about to rip it out of our chest moments. And Kemba Walker came through for us. And that is something that we're not used to seeing. This is a part of why this trend, even though again, he's not shooting the ball particularly well, this is like a part of it. It's like, all right, just have a few of these games and you completely justify it, like you being a part of this big three. Now, Neesmith basically doesn't play this game. If it's like, call it a coincidence. I just want to call out some of our friends who are just like trying to give Neesmith a pass. He's horrible. Like, dude,
He's not ready.
I don't want to tell you. Like, I don't hate the kid, but like, it's both ends of the court. Like offensively, he just looks terrified. And I thought he shook it, but he hasn't. He still shits his pants every time he's on the wing, gets the ball. Defensively, he's getting like torched by guys like Doug McDermott. Just like
it's his fault Luka hit that shot. I don't care. He played bad defense.
It's just like he doesn't seem prepared. So it's just like, again, I'm gonna go back to minutes, but like, I mean, we played 14 people in the Hawks loss. Now Robert Williams 14-11. I mean, that it's a great game, and I think that's why that's so important. Listen, Tice had a good scoring game, and he's capable of that. But we talked about it a million times. Like, is it what we need? I would rather have Tice have a 14-11 kind of game against a guy like Sabonis, against guys like Miles Turner. Like, if you can have 14-11 games against these, basically, I mean, close to the cream of the crop in terms of Eastern Conference big men, it really is only Embiid that you would put above guys like this. It's like, that's all. Like 11 rebounds against that, I'm pretty impressed. And that's what we need.
Not even a ton of minutes. Like per 36, he's even better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just a combination of like you said, guys on the bench, like stepping up, but I think it was super encouraging because Tatum and Brown having a bad game is just an absolute like disaster. And we survived it against a really good team who is also kind of struggling. So we'll see what they do and how they figure themselves out.
I think that Robert Williams is developing into our franchise center. Like he's looked so much better this year, and every month that passes, I like him more.
Slow
well,
and doesn't.
That's what I'm like. I still think that he can be like a figure piece center on our team. We still need a stretch four that can play defense inside and hit threes. Like we still need whatever that piece is because every team nowadays has that, and we have no solution for it whenever we come across it. But Robert Williams, I've been more excited about. He's a guy that like I definitely don't want to trade anymore unless it's going to make us a lot better. And then just to tie in Kemba. Kemba didn't play in the Hawks game. So Kemba played in the Mavs game and then went straight into the Pacers game. And those games kind of had the same through line. At the end of the Mavs game when we were down 11, Kemba hit an and one three that was like a ridiculous three and then hit another three. And he like kind of brought us back like by himself. And I was like, is this the game where we stop losing it in the last 2 minutes? Is this the game where Kemba brings us back? And with 5 seconds left, I thought that it was. And then Luka hits the shot and we lose. But in the Pacers game, Kemba, having not played against the Hawks, he's coming off that tough loss against the Mavs. And Kemba has his best game of the year. And when a night with Tatum and Brown are playing bad, he carries us. So me saying Kemba is the best thing for this week was because of this great win we had against the Pacers. We almost blew it. Like we usually do. We almost blew this game. They, at one point, had a chance to tie the game with an open three in the corner with about 40 seconds left. And they missed it, and we won. But we did have a lead that we potentially could have blown. So it's not all. It was
a back and forth game, though. Yeah.
No, it's true. And the Pacers are deep, quite deep.
They are. They're good.
That's what I got for the Pacers. If you want to move into the Wizards, because I have similar things to say about each of them, honestly.
Now, I think the Wizards game, though, that's like it was a more like climatic. Like it was just like this. It was more dramatic, and I think that it means a little bit more than people are going to think on the outside. Like you're looking at a win against the Wizards. The Wizards recently have been hot. And this is a team that we know is underperforming, even like with some of the holes they have. Like if you have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, you should be making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Like unless Westbrook is not the player that he's hyped up to be, which somebody's been saying for a very long time. But if he is the player that people are saying, then this is a good team, and they've been playing more like their act lately. And I think that us coming up big in the end of this game, like it's just a stepping stone in like our confidence going forward that like we don't choke the big game, that we can like we kind of came back in that last 40 seconds. And I think it feels good to like steal one, be the one who like thieves the game away.
I like watching the last 5 minutes of that game was getting so down on myself. Like, I can't believe this is happening, like happening again. And, we have no Brown that night. I don't know if it was the arthritis or whatever it is, but Tatum comes up big, 31 points, like you need him to. Kemba has a great game. Daniel Tice has a great game, a 20-piece from Tice, doing it again. And no one else on the team has more than 8 points. So that's another I think, par for the course of this team. I want to look at like a guy like Javonte Green. He takes 5 shots, 4 of 5, gets 8 points. And his impact on a team is just like catching fast breaks and like maybe some catch and shoot threes. But everyone on this bench, other than those guys, their job is just like either catch and shoot or fast break or just play defense. So I'm glad that we were able to pull out a win shorthanded that night without Brown.
33 minutes for Javonte this game. 33 minutes.
He started because like why not? Like let's just start Javonte, start Naismith. It doesn't matter.
It's like, well, like at the end of the day, like Javonte I think is a little bit worse, but the Javonte, Semi Ojeleye, Grant Williams fiasco is certainly like something that needs to be figured out, because they're all this category of just like bleh. Like it's like like sure, like we'll take them, but teams usually only have like 1 or 2 of these guys. So yeah, coming out winning a game where Javonte Green had to play 33 minutes just because we had holes in our roster is definitely a blessing. Tatum takes over this game, which is kind of vintage now, it feels like, because I don't feel like he's done this since that Clippers game last year. We hits a step back on Paul George. I don't think he's really taken over a game. Like, no, last 5 possessions, like it's me. Like, I think that's
I also
like
really new. I really like how he's adjusted, and it's no longer just dribble, step back 3 from 40 feet. Like all of those plays, he was getting in and crazy, ridiculous finishes on the layups. And because that's his thing. Like you get him at the rim, his arms are so long that he can get up and then just kind of float it over you. In the last 5 minutes of that game, it was tied with 5 minutes left. Bradley Beal starts going off, like bucket after bucket. I think he hit an and 3 in that stretch. We make it look so hard for ourselves. Semi hit a 3 that made it closer, and eventually, later in the game, with like a minute left, Bradley Beal is going ISO. I thought he was going to ice it. He passes out to Russell Westbrook in the corner. Low IQ pass from Bradley Beal, giving it to Russ there, and Russ bricked it. The inbound play was so stupid when Tatum throws it. Like Tatum is inbounding. Of course, like Brad's being so cute that Tatum is the inbounder, our best player. And we almost fumbled everything away in that moment. But we were able to get the ball back into Tatum's hands, and thank God Bradley Beal missed that shot at the end of the game. Remember he was doubled and he's just like nowhere to go with it. Rim. He flux back rim. Like that was like the Luka moment all over again. My heart would have sunk. And just thank God we got to win that night.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a must win for both these teams. Like the Wizards are trying to make some kind of comeback for like this 10th seed just to get into like the play-in or whatever. And I think it's pretty noble. No, because they have been playing a lot better. This team has been playing a lot better. I think that they're figuring out like in what ways are they just going to ride the coattails of Bradley Beal and Westbrook. Guys like Bertans, like I feel like are finally being integrated in some kind of logical way. And it's kind of a hard team to deal with. I think we did a good job. Naismith doesn't play, we win. I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't know what it is, but I think that when we kind of shave down how we're putting the minutes out, I think I got it figured out. Between Semi, Grant, and Javonte, if we give one of those guys big minutes, it doesn't really matter. They're going to produce something kind of similar. Like, and for the most part, they're going to do like, I think Javonte is a little bit worse, but very comparable performance. If you keep the rest like of those minutes distributed like in some kind of logical way, you're not giving 14 guys minutes, like you're just kind of like focusing your efforts there, then you give some DNPs out to guys like Naismith or Grant or anyone else. But you get this like game where people off the bench are kind of coming up in some moments. People like Semi come off the bench and hit that huge 3. That's probably Semi's like biggest shot this year. And like, I think that's a product of like, all right, Semi, we're not going to throw you off the cliff. We're going to give you a solid 25 tonight. And like, that's what you're going to get. Like, you got to work with that, but you're going to get that.
Totally. I know it's not like a broken record, but Carson Edwards, I think, can be a great piece for us off the bench. I know it was garbage time, but he came in the Hawks game and he can get to the rim and finish at the rim. Like he gets up more than people think. Like that James Harden dunk has lived on when he dunked on James Harden. He can get up and finish high around the rim, which is really underrated and something that we don't have a lot of on our team. I just think that if you play Naismith 22 minutes and he takes 0 shots, like at one point you just say Carson, like scoring is what he does and we need scoring. So if you give him 15, 20 minutes and he gets to take 7 shots or 8 shots, I think that he'd provide something. And I understood it earlier in the year when it's like Carson really hasn't proven anything, and we have a lot of other guys on this team that need to get in the rotation. But now that we're at this point, 34 games in, the season's about halfway done, a little more than halfway done, I believe.
I
And
don't think totally.
because we're 34 games in, and there's 72 games instead of
Yeah.
82 this year, so we're almost halfway through. So at almost the halfway point in the season, we've seen what we're going to get from Naismith or from T or from these other guys. I just wish that Carson would get his week of getting 20 minutes a night. Naismith gets a week, Grant gets a week. Give Carson like 4 or 5 games and give him minutes and see what happens.
I mean, here's where I agree with you. I agree that he has potential. I agree that he has much potential than Naismith. If he's getting minutes, then Carson should be. But I want as many DNPs as possible on this roster. And when we shave it down, like it's with the most he's gonna get is like those like 7 or 8 minutes that maybe Jeff T would get. And like at the end of the day, like Brad's like his mindset's probably like, I want to win now. I'm gonna go with the guy with a lot more experience. So that's kind of how things shake out for him. It's a tough bid. You know, if he had the G League, I think that'd be a lot better for him too. But yeah, it's in some way it's a good problem to have if managed properly. And unfortunately, I don't know if he makes the DNP cut for this team just right now. But who knows? We got some games coming up. I think that he matches up a little bit better against like some certain opponents.
Yeah. We're playing the Clippers on Tuesday. I love playing the Clippers. Honestly, they're like some of the most fun games of the year every year.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to this Clippers game. I think it's a really fun matchup to have Brown and Tatum versus Kawhi and Paul George, because it's kind of like a current dynasty versus future dynasty situation. Yep. And whenever we beat them, it's always just a really fulfilling feeling, like this proven champion and this proven like all NBA all-star, our young guys are giving it to them. So I'm excited for that. The Raptors game, we're close to the Raptors in the standings now, so it's going to be a really important game to win before the All-Star break to hopefully get some confidence in there. And then the All-Star break is a whole nother monster. But Raptors and Clippers, we'd hate to go into the All-Star break 17-19. So hopefully we can be at least 18-18 at the end of this week.
Much needed All-Star break. I think it comes at the best time for us. I think we really turned things around. Yeah, we got to finish out strong. I think that the Clippers game, we kind of just got like a taste because we didn't have, I believe, Jaylen Brown, and the Clippers didn't have Paul George.
Right.
I think that takes away an element of the game. I just wish that we were completely healthy, because I think that we're not going to really be able to take away fully what we're going to get. But I think it's certainly, I think we come away with the win. I think it's certainly like a statement win. The Raptors game, this is a team that like we need to kind of look after, because they started so horribly, and they were in such a big of a funk that no one thought that they were going to dig themselves out of that hole. And now they have an even record, I believe, or a little bit above it. And that's like what we need to look at, is this like they figured it out. Like, we're more talented than them. We can figure it out. Raptors, I'm pretty sure, have one of the best records like in like the last month. That's something that we could totally do. So yeah, going to the All-Star break, like I think either way how we finish, it's just going to be a huge reset button moment. I think it needs to be.
Absolutely. And the actual like All-Star weekend itself, it's going to be weird. They shouldn't have done it. Like, I heard what Adam Silver said, where he was like, the All-Star game is like by far and away like our most impressioned event. Like, the amount of billions of impressions that it has on social media and just around the world. He was like, internationally and just like from the standpoint of the NBA, it is our biggest event. And so if we can try to do it, we should do it. And I hear that. I think the players should be a little more on board because they're getting paid all this money. But it really makes no sense to bring all of the best players together for a meaningless game amongst a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I really do feel like something's going to come out of this. Something definitely has to come out of this. And it's going to be one of Silver's worst moments if something does.
If like our best 10 players in the league all get COVID at the same weekend, it would be bad.
It'd be a bad look. It'd be a bad look. But I think he's gonna do whatever it takes to like kind of handle that. Now, focus on like the actual game, who got selected and all this. I'm just glad that Sabonis, he snuck in there because the whole entire KD injury. But like, what a disrespect! I think he's been the first like month and a half of this season. He's like a top 3 player, and then he things start to tail off. The Pacers have some identity issues, but like he's still so good. And I think that in the year he's doing everything that Jokic is doing.
No, absolutely. I bet that he gets picked last in the draft. I think the draft is on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's my early bet. I think that the first pick in the second round is going to be Dame, and I think that the last pick in the whole thing is going to be Sabonis. That's my early prediction. If you want to bet on anything for this weekend,
I agree.
I'm taking Tatum in the 3-point contest or the skills contest, whatever he gets into, because he's getting into one of them. I think it's going to be a weird day, but I'll be excited as a fan to watch it. And the fact that we're having like the 3-point and the skills challenge at halftime or whatever they said they're doing, it'll be a fun 4 hours at least.
How late can like players opt out, you think? I feel like some players could totally opt out still.
That would be funny if there's like a little mutiny, like right before, like LeBron's like, actually, I'd like to have a weekend off. Like, thank you. No
I
thanks.
feel like I don't know, anything's possible. You know, I don't think this game is 100% just like going to happen. Like I feel like there's like
when Kyrie Irving's involved, you know that.
Yeah, like there something can come out of this. But in any sense, like it feels weird like us having Brown and Tatum. I think like something needs to be said about that. Like,
you feel like we don't deserve it or what?
It just seems a little unfair. I think like whether the game's like played, we get to see Jaylen Brown like actually, you know, get his moment or whatever. I just feel like either way, it feels a little weird. And I just think that a team that's 500 and severely underperforming, it's like you get two of them in there. It's just like you're taking away from some of these guys. And that's kind of what happened with Sabonis. I think Sabonis and Vucevic both earned it and, you know, both did deserve it.
That's what Mike Gorman was saying. Mike Gorman's like, the All-Star game is perfect for Tatum and Brown because what they do is just like play isolation basketball, like trying to look really good. And so, yeah, if you want the guys that are going to look really good in an All-Star game, it's Brown and Tatum. But if you want the guys that have impacted winning the most and have good records, then you'd go for someone else.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that's like one of my big takeaways with it. It was like, I'm glad it happened and glad we got these guys in. But it feels a little weird. I think that looking forward, just like post All-Star break, like run is like, it's a story in a lot of these like championship teams that are like kind of mediocre. Like it's a huge like make or break moment. So that's why like I'm not like disinterested in these next two games. I think they matter in some kind of way. But I'm really looking forward to seeing like how like when all the dust is settled, like we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to like plant some kind of like few statement games together. I think that's gonna be the season kind of right there and then.
Absolutely. We better come out of this All-Star break just firing on more cylinders. We better come out of this All-Star break like looking at some serious trades to make us into contenders. Hopefully we're going into it at least at 500. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week at Double Take Celtics. You can subscribe on iTunes at Celtics Double Take, or go find Double Take on YouTube. Extra credit, you can follow at the Double Take Show on Instagram. James, any last words today?
Man, it's a little off topic, but those COVID numbers, man, they're looking a little promising for the first time. Everyone keep doing your job. I'm looking forward. I think that things are finally going in like a positive direction, which is just it's a crazy thing to say.
We're not going to have fans of the All-Star game, the NBA Finals. I want full stadiums. We got to keep this up.
At least, dude, give me baseball at least. Give me baseball at least.
At least. All right, go Celtics. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the All-Star game.